My students, we are here again. We want to do a continuation of what we were talking about the other time. But now, this is a little new, though we have already mentioned it. This is taxation. I want to believe that the word tax is very, very friendly. It's a word that we've met every other time, though maybe we may not be in a position to actually explain the exact meaning. Now, a tax is a compulsory payment by either individuals or organizations to the government without direct benefit to the payer. When we pay tax, sometimes for lay people, they imagine that they're supposed to be benefiting directly from the tax that they are paying. That is not the case. You pay a tax, it is a compulsory payment that the government requires you to make payment of, but direct benefit does not really come to you. Then now the word taxation in it, we refer to the process through which the government raises revenue by collecting the what? The very taxes that we're talking about. So taxation is a process of collecting the tax. And then, as we move on, let's look at the purposes or the reasons why we should do or collect taxes. Why should we collect taxes or purposes for taxation? Number one is raising revenue for the government expenditure, which we have already talked about earlier on. This is the main reason for taxation, raising revenue for the government expenditure, so that the government can have money and spend it on various aspects which we have already seen earlier on. Number two, discouraging or controlling consumption of certain commodities like alcohol and cigarettes, which are considered to be very harmful. Why? Somebody would ask, should the government get concerned about somebody drinking alcohol and somebody taking cigarettes? The government needs to protect its citizens. So we find situations whereby there's a lot of people taking alcohol, cigarettes are killing people out there, and the government really wants a situation where it can come in to control this. So it will raise the tax for these commodities so that alcohol becomes too expensive for this alcohol drinking person, cigarettes become too expensive. So when that takes place, then taxation shall have also taken place. Number three is discouraging importation of certain commodities in order to protect the local industries. This is done by imposing heavy taxes on such commodities. There are moments when our local goods or the local industries are suffering because people are not buying from them. Why are people not buying from them? They are buying goods that are coming from outside. So for the government to come in and protect these local industries, then it needs to levy heavy taxes on goods that have been imported. At the end of the day, the government is going to raise some money out of that. But again, the government shall have helped or protected the local farms or the local industries. Another reason is to control inflation. Taxation reduces money supply by reducing people's disposable income, thereby controlling inflation. Maybe we need to know what inflation is. Inflation is a situation whereby there's a lot of money that is circulating, but this money has no value. It can only be able to buy very few items. So when the government realizes that that is the situation, or rather that inflation is getting in, a situation whereby so much money is in circulation, but not being able to buy many things, as in the value is low, then the government will come in by imposing taxation on account of that. When it does that, people's disposable incomes are going to go down. The amount of money that you have will go down. By so doing, the government will be withdrawing some money from the economy. Then another aspect that we need to look at, even as we look at the purposes or the reasons why there's this taxation, is reducing inequality in income distribution. This normally is done in a situation whereby the rich people are going to be taxed very heavily. And the money that comes, or rather the tax that comes from that undertaking, will be used to buy or raise provisions for goods and services for the poor. So the rich are going to be denied that access to so much money by them paying heavy taxes, and in so doing, the poor are also going to benefit out of the tax that have been collected from the rich people. When this has been done, then you realize we're going to reduce inequality in income distribution, where the rich have a lot and the poor have very little. Then next, we talk of influencing location of businesses. If we refer to topic 3, I think topic 2 or 3 in book 3, or our syllabus of form 3, we have a situation called localization and delocalization. And I want to pick on delocalization. Delocalization is when farms are required to spread all over the nation. Sometimes they're not comfortable with it. So when we say influencing location of businesses, we're saying that this is done by taxing businesses located in urban areas heavily. They are taxed heavily, and those in rural areas lightly. Therefore, businesses will be able to move to the rural areas. It's a way in which the government would want to have delocalization takes place. People move so that every other place is occupied in the same way. Another aspect is to correct unfavorable balance of payments, where we have high taxes being imposed on imported commodities, thereby discouraging the importation, leading to an improvement in the balance of payment. When we talk about balance of payment, it is the equity between importation and exportation. So you find that many times we import, and when we import so much, it means we are not in a position to export so much. And when that is the case, then we have something called unfavorable balance of payments, which for the economy, it's very dangerous. So when the situation comes like that, the government would always want to correct it. And how does it correct it? By imposing heavy taxes on imported goods and less on exported goods. And then another aspect is to protect the key sectors of the economy, such as agricultural sector, by stimulating their growth. How does the government do this? It will reduce taxes that are levied on, for example, in the agricultural sector, the seedlings, all those that are entailed in the agricultural sector would be lowered in terms of tax, so that people are able to buy, people are able to farm. When this is done, then growth is going to be stimulated. So as we conclude, maybe let's look at factors that determine the amount of money raised through taxation. Number one is distribution of incomes, the rich and the poor. Those who are rich should be taxed heavily, those who are poor should be taxed lowly. Number two, social and political factors. There's a consideration of aspects of social beings and political beings which must be considered when taxation has to take place. Then we also talk about honesty and efficiency of tax authorities, like in Kenya here, the body that is given the mandate to collect tax is the Kenya Revenue Authority. There's an aspect of honesty that is expected from them, and efficiency, how efficient are they in the tax collection. Then we also talk of citizens' level of real income. I think I could also refer you back to the topic national income in Form 3, where you realize that someone's real income sometimes may not be really depicted. Somebody could be doing activities that are illegal and earning money out of it, which does not which is not taxed, whereas the little that he earns that is legal is what is taxed. So there's that aspect. Then finally, economic structure of the country, e.g., relative size of the country's commercial and subsistence sector. You can find that a particular country, we are not talking about Kenya now, but you can find that a particular country has a huge commercial sector and a very small subsistence sector, and the reverse. So when the commercial sector is big, then a lot of tax will be raised, and when the subsistence sector is big, then very little will be raised in terms of taxes. I think we want to stop there for today. Let's meet again next time. Thank you for listening.